The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman.
What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. However you are watching, however you are following, whether that is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you want to put a face to the voice and you are watching on YouTube and you are doing so on there, consider subscribing, liking, sharing, telling a friend. Don't keep the Ben Garcia Show all to yourself. As you can tell, we are not in the same studios that we are normally in each and every week. Instead, we are at Radio Row in Las Vegas, where the Super Bowl is being hosted by Las Vegas. And as you can tell, anyone who is everyone, anyone who is someone in the media is here. ESPN, the Pat McAfee Show, is filming right over there. Fox Sports Radio is over to my right. Cavino and Rich is on. The AP is directly behind me, as I'm sure you can see. The NFL Network. It has just been a jam-packed week. For those of you who don't know my day job, I'm working at Fox Sports 910 AM in Phoenix. We met with guys like Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. Rap Sheet was on the show. It has been a crazy, jam-packed week. I wasn't planning to get you guys a show this week, but I decided, no, the show must go on. Let's do it from Radio Row. So we got 3 topics for you guys. Let's talk a little bit about the NBA trade deadline, the New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson, the hot topic. We have also some college coaches are leaving for the NFL. I have a few minutes worth of thoughts on that. I want to talk about that as well. Is this the future of college football? Can they survive without superstar head coaches? And then, of course, the granddaddy of them all, picks, predictions, maybe a Super Bowl MVP. Let's talk it all, Niners and Chiefs. But before we get into the Super Bowl picks and predictions, let's start right here. So ironically, this is my first NBA topic pretty much of the Ben Garcia Show campaign. We're going to talk a bunch of NBA directly after the Super Bowl is over. But let's start with the NBA trade deadline hitting today. Today is Thursday, February 8th when I am recording this, and I just have a few thoughts. The New York Knicks made some moves. They made some fantastic moves. They went and got Bogdanovic. They went and added a couple of other key pieces, and people are starting to get a little too high on the New York Knicks. It's not I'm a New York Knicks hater. I am a firm believer that in this league, you need a superstar, a top 6 to top 8 player in the NBA to win a championship. I like the Knicks. I think the Knicks are well ahead of schedule. Tom Thibodeau has done an amazing job with this team, although it's kind of the same thing that he has done each and every year with these teams. He plays them a ton of minutes. He grinds them into the ground, and in the playoffs, it tends to then start to hit a little bit of a downward spiral. OG Anunoby was an awesome pickup. They got rid of guys like RJ Barrett. But the reasoning why I'm not taking the New York Knicks to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, the reason why I'm not picking them to win an NBA championship is because of who their best player is. I'm not anti-Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is a phenomenal basketball player. Jalen Brunson this season is having career numbers. It has just been insane for him. He left the Dallas Mavericks. He's on the New York Knicks, now has a crazy good contract now, 27 points a game, 6.5 assists, about 4 rebounds, but splits of 48, 41, and 83. Those are really, really good numbers. The problem with the New York Knicks, one, they don't really have a number 2. OG Anunoby, probably a lower-end 3, maybe a middle-of-the-road 3. Julius Randle, One of those guys who's a little hit and miss. We know he's had some injury history in the past. He's going to be out for a little bit again with an injury. And then Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is an elite player, and he's a 1. And he's probably in the conversation of the best point guard in the NBA. At this point, is he better than Steph Curry? I don't know. But Jalen Brunson is a 6'2", 190-pound guard. What have we seen over the past couple of seasons in the NBA championship? Who holds rings? Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James. Go out through the history of the NBA and who are the guys that are hoisting trophies that are getting rings. It's bigs or guys like Magic Johnson who are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guards leading teams to championship titles. Pau Gasol and Kobe Bryant. The issue with the New York Knicks is I just can't get on board with a player like Jalen Brunson with a small frame of 6'2", 190 pounds leading you all the way to the championship. You have to be a dominating, physical beast specimen of a person, and you just look at the history of the NBA. This is not me picking on Jalen Brunson. I'm not sure which reporter it was, but basically said he's just a little small. He can't be a top 5 player in the NBA. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I completely agree with that assessment of Jalen Brunson. That's just basically what the NBA has been. Name a player outside of Stephen Curry who is the greatest three-point shooter of all time who has ran this league, who has won multiple rings. You can't name them. So if I'm just going to go with history here, I'm going to have to say that Jalen Brunson's probably not going to run this league either. I think this team would have been great if they went after Pascal Siakam. Who knows? Maybe they didn't want to give up the trade assets for it. I get it. It cost a lot. And the Indiana Pacers are a team that doesn't get many free agents, so they kind of have to swing and sometimes miss or sometimes hit a home run with the trading market. They've done it with Tyrese Halliburton. They've done it with Pascal Siakam now. The New York Knicks are just, right now, a great team, a phenomenal team. But I can't take a guy like Jalen Brunson to lead them to an NBA title, not because he's a bad player, but because the history of the NBA says if you are not a big, if you are not a physical specimen, if you are not a big guy that can run downhill and run dudes over on the way to the cup, you won't win titles as the best player on your team. It just doesn't happen outside of Stephen Curry in the last 20 years. This is what the league has become. And that Warriors team didn't even become a dynasty until Kevin Durant joined them. And what's Kevin Durant? A nearly 7-foot elite jump shot shooter who can also get to the rim. Jalen Brunson, there's nothing wrong with him. He's an elite player. Is he a number 1? I think so, but probably a 1B. But in those off shooting nights in the playoffs, what do guys like LeBron James, like Nikola Jokic, like Giannis Antetokounmpo do? They get to the basket, and that is just hard to do as a sub 6'3", 6'2" guard like Jalen Brunson. It's not Jalen Brunson hate. It's just honesty. He is a very, very good player. No hate here. He should have been an all-star starter this year. But I'm just not so sure he can carry a team to an NBA title. Now we have some new topics going on in the NFL and in college football. But before we get to the Super Bowl, I want to talk about what has happened over the past few weeks with college coaches either retiring, and it's not just in college football. It's in college basketball as well. Teams of elite head coaches just deciding either I'm done or I'm bolting for the NFL. We've seen it over the past few weeks now. We've seen Nick Saban decide to just call it quits. Nick Saban saying, yeah, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. We saw Jay Wright over at Villanova decide it was done. Mike Krzyzewski saying in basketball, yeah, I think I'm done. These are all elite level head coaches who all you can argue had way more left in the tank than we were willing to admit. We just saw Jim Harbaugh leave. We just now are speculation that Chip Kelly could be gone. So it's now a part of a trend that college head coaches are either bolting for the pros or they're just calling it a quits when we all thought they had more left in the tank. What does this mean? College football has become a wild, wild west. College basketball, college athletics as a whole has become the wild, wild west when it comes to NIL, and there's no ramifications for it. You can do whatever you want. There's no commissioner. And what is going to happen to college football if you indeed continue to go down this path? I don't care if you pay the players. I'm not going to lie to you. I've always been authentic. I've always been honest with my beliefs. I don't care if you pay the players. I don't care if you don't. But if you're going to pay them, do it the right way. At this point, it has become just abysmal what college football and college basketball has become. It's become super conferences. It's become paying players. It doesn't matter what your reputation is as Alabama. It's going to be, can you pay me? And it's fine. You want to pay the players? Go for it. But there's got to be some sort of ramifications. There's got to be some sort of guidelines, some borders to go off of if you are indeed going to pay players. At this point, we have Jim Harbaugh bolting, just saying, I just won a national title. It's going to be a ton of pressure on me to win the NFL right away because I'm Jim freaking Harbaugh. There's no pressure on me right now to win at the highest level in college football. I just brought Michigan back to relevancy, and he decided, yeah, I'm done. There's more to that story. It's not just because the Chargers handed him a bag. The Michigan football would have handed him anything he would have wanted, he would have taken, because he put them back in football relevancy. Put yourself in the shoes of a Nick Saban, a Jim Harbaugh, a Mike Krzyzewski, a Jay Wright. If you haven't grown up in the NIL era, it can be a lot. It can be crazy. The NCAA has got to put borders on this thing, because what is going to happen, and when I say borders, not how much you can pay players, not just, you can't have players transferring anytime they want. There's no ramifications for it. There's no consequences for it. Players can just get up and leave. And if you think about it, if you are getting paid, can you just get up and leave your job? We just saw a college basketball school basically win an appeal that they are indeed going to be looked at as employees, meaning they're going to need benefits, they're going to need to be paid, they're going to looked at as labor. I can't do that at my job. I can't just get up and leave to go to another job and get paid more. You can't just walk away. Those things don't just happen. Try to do that at your current job. Walk into your boss and say, hey, I'm going to leave and try to go get more money, and just leave in that second, whenever you want, no matter what. Of course you can leave a job, but you can't just talk to another school and dip out. That's not how it works. You can't just dip out immediately where you're at. So if they want to be taken seriously as real jobs, which is fine, I don't have any problem with that, the NCAA has got to put some borders on this, got to put some guidelines on this. I know the NCAA is evil, and everyone looks at them like the terrible big brother that just does nothing but take everything away from them, and everything exposes the player. But at this point, we are going to continue to see a trend of college head coaches, the Boston College head coach, left for a defensive coordinator position because he knows at Boston College he can't compete anymore. There's no even need for recruiting. It's how much money can you give me? That's the problem with college football right now. It's the wild, wild west. There is no borders. You can do whatever you want. And at this point, it's bad for college football. The NCAA needs to come up with some way to make this way more balanced, not in the terms of a salary cap, but we at least need a commissioner. Everything that is treated like pro sports has a commissioner, and at this point, the NCAA is just a notch below that, and it's either adapt or die. At some point, the SEC and the Big Ten are just going to realize they don't need the NCAA and just secede from them. The NCAA needs to get out in front of this, because at this point, how much coaching can you really do when it's recruiting 24/7? There used to be a dead period. There's no dead period in college recruiting anymore. It is 24/7, 365 days a year. It's going to be worse coaching because coaches don't want to deal with that. Elite level head coaches who have options don't want to deal with that. There's no off days. If you're Nick Saban at 72 years old, yeah, call it quits. Go live out in your house in Florida and call it a day. But at this point, it's become too much. And the NCAA needs to figure out a way to stop this madness. Because at some point, it's going to affect players' skills if they're not getting the elite level head coaching because they decide to go elsewhere because they have real options. And make it less of the wild, wild west. Have a little bit more ramifications for it, consequences. Don't just allow players to transfer on a dime. It just doesn't work like that in the real world. Super Bowl 58 is upon us. As I have mentioned before, I am in Las Vegas. I am at Radio Row. Anyone who is everyone, anyone that is somebody in the media is here. ESPN, Fox Sports is behind me. AP is behind me. It has been crazy. I've seen Josh Allen walk by today, TJ Houshmandzadeh, Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals, Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals, Cameron Jordan, I bumped into him, and yesterday I decided it'd be a good idea to start vlogging like a 25-year-old kid that was just living in the new day and age of social media, and I ran chest first in to Cam Newton. So that was a story that I'll be telling people for a long time, which was great. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys right now, Cam Newton, physical specimen. He's listed at like 6'5", 250. He's bigger than that. He is an impeccable, incredible athlete. We are here talking San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs. So let's dive right into this game. On the Kansas City Chiefs side, there is a multitude of narratives. There's the Taylor Swift craziness where people think that it's just a big conspiracy to get Joe Biden reelected, which I think is just hilarious. The Travis Kelce aspect of it, where the podcaster, the dating Taylor Swift, the defense that is continuously getting looked over because they have a quarterback in the other narrative, Patrick Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the NFL, and it is not close. And on the Niners side, there is a multitude of narratives. They are seen as the heroes, the Avengers, if you will, in this aspect. You got Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Travarius Ward. It is a star-studded Pro Bowl-like lineup. So let's get into this game. Brock Purdy can shock the whole world this Sunday. He can walk in to Allegiant Stadium and light it up. Now, Brock Purdy has not shown me in this playoffs he is capable of playing at an elite talent for consecutive games, for consecutive quarters at this point. It has been a very up and down trend for Brock Purdy. Here's what I will say about Brock Purdy, and 49ers fans don't like when you just say honest things about Brock. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Yeah, he's probably number 10. But what else about Brock am I a little worried about with him? It's, well, he hasn't put together a string of passes, a string of quarters, a string of drives together to show me that he's that elite talent that 49ers fans are telling me that he is. So what do I think the Chiefs are going to do to Brock? Well, similarly what they did to the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to bring a lot of pressure. They're going to go at him with 6, 7, just straight man across the board, cover zero type coverages, and just come after Brock Purdy. And now if Brock Purdy can prove me wrong, can prove the national media wrong, and show why he's an elite talent, he'll carve that up. Lamar Jackson couldn't do it, and I think Lamar Jackson is a much better talent and player than Brock Purdy has ever been in this league. 2-time MVP. So What can I see from Brock? I can see him come out and lay a real egg. We've talked about what he has to do to prove guys like me wrong. I think if they win this game, he won't be considered the MVP. I don't think he is capable of playing at a Super Bowl MVP type of level. I've just never believed that with Brock Purdy. So if I believe that they win this game, it's probably going to be the Super Bowl MVP Christian McCaffrey or Deebo Samuel or whatever of that aspect. Here is my real theory with Brock Purdy and what I think is going to happen this week in Allegiant Stadium. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to bring cover seven, bring seven, play cover zero type defenses, and make Brock Purdy make reads on an instant. He's got a small frame. We've seen him get crumpled up in that pocket before and throw real ducks. And let's just call it what it is, Niners fans. It's okay. He's won the last 2 games. He has shown that he has thrown many interception-worthy passes that have not been caught by the grace of God for Brock Purdy. What I think is going to happen, and it's going to be an interesting narrative for Brock Purdy, is either he's going to be considered, because I don't believe he's going to play as well as maybe someone else thinks, he's going to be considered the worst quarterback to win a Super Bowl, or he could be put in this category of, if he plays bad and loses an opportunity to win this game, squanders the opportunity to bring home a Lombardi trophy to the Bay Area, I believe Brock Purdy can be put in a position to where he could be replaced. Now, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. But Brock Purdy, if he plays poorly in this game, will be looked upon as a guy like Jimmy G. Niners fans don't like to admit it, but in 2019, Jimmy G had very similar stats to Brock Purdy, maybe not as good. I'm well aware that Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy G, but if Brock Purdy loses this game, what separates him from Jimmy Garoppolo to him? What does? Because the stats aren't that different from each of their 2 Super Bowl years. They're just not that different. So, what are we going to consider Brock Purdy to be? Cam Newton said it, a game manager. And Kyle Shanahan's going to look at it as, can I win with this guy? Well, maybe not can I win with this guy, but can I win a Super Bowl with this guy? Because playoff wins, making it to the Super Bowl, does not cut it for the San Francisco 49ers. They have been a constant NFC Conference Championship participant, and over the last 5 years, they've made it to 2 Super Bowls. Playoff wins don't cut it. That cuts it for the Dallas Cowboys, not the San Francisco 49ers. So if Brock Purdy loses this game, I believe he could be in a real position to either be moved in the offseason for a better option, or he could have his job, or maybe even I've seen people throw out the fact of Sam Darnold maybe competing with him. I don't see that. But Kirk Cousins and Kyle Shanahan have been flirting for years now like they're high school sweethearts. The San Francisco 49ers, I believe if Brock Purdy plays poorly in this game, will look for an upgrade from Brock Purdy. Now, will they get that upgrade? I'm not so sure they will. Brock Purdy is a fine quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. He has not shown in the playoffs, although he has shown up in timely instances, he has not shown consecutively that he can carry you throughout a full playoff game. He hasn't really been able to put together elite quarters at this point consecutively. He's had moments, he's had instances, but make no mistake, if he plays poorly in this game, the San Francisco 49ers will look for an upgrade. The San Francisco 49ers privately will look for an upgrade. Kyle Shanahan already confirmed they looked at Tom Brady last year. He's been flirting with Kirk Cousins for years now. They could go after him, I'm sure. Kyle Shanahan loves a guy like Kirk Cousins. And you would have thought I was crazy in 2019 when Jimmy G made the Super Bowl, and if I would have said this. But now look at San Francisco 49ers fans now. They couldn't wait to get Jimmy G out of the building. So there's my take on the San Francisco 49ers. The Kansas City Chiefs, I believe the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go out and win this game. I picked against the Kansas City Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens. I picked against them against the Buffalo Bills. but clearly I didn't have my eyes open. This defense is getting no credit because their quarterback is the best quarterback in the NFL and potentially on his way to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win yet another title, their third in 5 years, simply because I don't believe Brock Purdy, who has struggled with the Green Bay Packers and the Lions defenses for halves, for stretches, that I think he's just going to turn it on against the Kansas City Chiefs, who is probably the best defense in the NFL to this point. We thought it was the Ravens. I'm guessing no one thinks that anymore because the Kansas City Chiefs defense has been dominant, has been stifling, has been killing teams all year, and we've just looked against it because Patrick Mahomes is on the roster. Andy Reid on a bye, look up his record. It's very, very good. Travis Kelce is playing like he's dating the world's biggest pop star. Oh, wait, he is. Patrick Mahomes, I believe that after this Super Bowl win that we are going to see on Sunday, we're going to talk about him being the greatest quarterback of all time already. He's got better stats than Tom Brady. At this point, he'll have the same amount of rings in his career as Tom Brady if you line them up on the same timeline in which both guys won their rings, the same amount of rings, has better stats, and doing it with roughly kind of the same amount of talent. We saw Tom Brady win rings with Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman, who some people think is a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I don't. I'm more of the belief that Tom Brady made Julian Edelman. He was just a very good slot receiver. And Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick Mahomes wins a Super Bowl with Justin Watson, with Kadarius Toney, with Mecole Hardman, with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and then anchoring that with Travis Kelce, you have to put him in the argument as one of the best, if not the best, quarterback of all time. And we're going to talk about that come Sunday night when the Kansas City Chiefs win this Super Bowl, his third ring in his fourth Super Bowl appearance. We saw Tom Brady. Tom Brady was awesome. And Tom Brady unequivocally is the GOAT right now. I won't argue that. But come Sunday, we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes being the greatest quarterback of all time. Because unlike Tom Brady, he's more talented. And just like Tom Brady, he's just as coachable. He's just as locked in. He's just as into the film room as he is to anything else. He's a team-first guy. He's everything Tom Brady was, except with much more tangibles, the arm angles, the throw power, the scrambling ability, something Tom Brady never had. Come Sunday night in Allegiant, we will be talking about Patrick Mahomes after he wins his third Super Bowl title in his fourth Super Bowl appearance as the greatest quarterback of all time. I like the Kansas City Chiefs to roll in this game. Give me the Chiefs 28, the San Francisco 49ers 21. That is all I have for you guys today, live from Radio Row. It has been an awesome experience here this week. Can't wait to get this podcast, this show out to you guys. It has been awesome. It has been jam-packed. Thank you so much for making opportunities like this happen. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share with the Ben Garcia Show with someone else. Don't keep it all to yourself. Don't be greedy. And whether you're watching on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or for free on the iHeartRadio app, we appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. And until next week, post-Super Bowl Sunday, it will be a jam-packed NBA, maybe some NFL show in that, probably some Patrick Mahomes praise. But until then, it has been the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your week. And until next week, it's the Ben Garcia Show.